Bryant Jennings is currently in the UK. He's been sparring David Haye, helping him prepare for his fight against Tony Bellew. Yesterday, Bryant Jennings was at the O2 for the weigh-in between Haye and Bellew, and I believe the previous day he had done an interview. I think it was with IFL, where they'd thrown a few names at him and asked him what he thought about those names in terms of potentially fighting. And one of the names mentioned was Dillian Whyte. And Bryant Jennings said, well, Dillian Whyte can't mess with me, basically, in stronger language. He said that. Now, Dillian Whyte being Dillian Whyte, somebody who could start an argument in an empty room, Dillian Whyte saw the interview and got deeply offended. And he saw Bryant Jennings yesterday, Friday, at the weigh-in, and confronted Jennings. And he was acting like he wanted to fight Jennings there and then. In typical Dillian Whyte style, this is how Dillian is. You know, if you say something about Dillian, he don't care who you are. He'll confront you on road, on the street, in your face, and see what you got to say about it then. in recent times, I can't remember a fighter who has offered to have street fights with so many other fighters in his division as Dillian Whyte. When Dillian Whyte was in the Klitschko training camp with Anthony Joshua, he wanted to fight Anthony Joshua in the street. He said, come outside and we'll fight. Because of, some of the things that Anthony Joshua had said about him or whatever, Dillian Whyte took offense to them. He wanted Joshua to come outside with him and fight. And even when they were back in the UK, once again, he kept telling Joshua over social media, over Twitter, come meet me now, we'll fight, we'll sort it out. Joshua didn't go for it on either occasion, either in Germany or in the UK. He settled it in the ring, which a lot of people believe is the best place to settle it. But nonetheless, Dillian Whyte also did something similar to Dave Allen in the lead up to his fight. He was saying to Dave Allen, look, if you think you're bad, I'll come drive up there to Doncaster where you live and we can fight in a car park. I'll come to your bedsit where you're living. Now, him and Dave Allen are cool now. They actually spar quite a lot and seem to be on, decent terms. But he did do that to him. Same with Ian Lewison. He was talking like he was going to come to Ian Lewison's house and all this kind of stuff. They both live in Brixton. So this is how Dillian Whyte is. He's easily offended. He's a very volatile character. He did the same with Derek Chisora, by the way. Many, many, many times he offered to meet Derek Chisora in real life. He turned up apparently at Derek Chisora's favorite restaurant in Finchley, and then he started tweeting or Instagramming and saying to Derek, come down now. If you want to fight me in the street, come down. So, yeah, that's the kind of character he is. You shouldn't need me to tell you that. So he did that again with Bryant Jennings. And Bryant Jennings has done some interviews subsequently, so has Dillian Whyte. And Bryant Jennings looked visibly shaken by the incident. I guess he didn't expect Dillian Whyte to hear about the situation so quickly and to act on it or whatever. Maybe he didn't think Dillian was about that life. Well, Dillian is about that life. He will confront you if he has an issue with you. He's known for doing that. And as I say, Bryant Jennings seemed very on edge, very, very, shaky and shaken. But he's in another man's country, in another man's city. He doesn't really know anybody other than David Haye, maybe. So I guess he's feeling kind of vulnerable. Perhaps if that had happened in the United States, Bryant Jennings wouldn't be feeling so worried. But whatever the case may be, Dillian Whyte did a few interviews and he called Bryant Jennings a pussy, said that he's a coward, he's scared, that he was scared in the Ortiz fight, that he was all twitchy and nervous and running around and not sticking to his game plan. And I think he showed a hell of a lot of heart in the Ortiz fight. But I do believe he was nervous early on. That's what I will agree with in terms of what Dillian Whyte said about Bryant Jennings in the Ortiz fight. I think he was very nervous early on. But what all this boils down to is there's a potential fight there between Dillian Whyte and Bryant Jennings. And that's a good fight as far as I'm concerned. Bryant Jennings hasn't actually fought since that loss to Luis Ortiz. And Dillian Whyte's coming back from a very tough fight, which he barely scraped through against Derek Chisora. Split decision win. Was it split decision? Was it unanimous? I can't remember now, but it was very close. The judges who had it for Dillian Whyte all only had it by 1 point. I think it was majority decision, maybe. Maybe one of the judges had it a draw. You guys will enlighten me in the comment section below because I've forgotten. But yeah, so he's coming back from that. Bryant Jennings been sparring David Haye. Been inactive since the Ortiz fight. It's a fight I'd like to see. Dillian Whyte, Bryant Jennings, why not? I don't know where Bryant Jennings is in the rankings though. That's the only issue. Because Dillian Whyte is number 4 in the WBC. So he's looking to fight people that are ranked above him. Unless you're going to pay him silly money. And that's the reason he's not going for the Chisora fight at the moment, because they're not offering him the kind of money that would make him want to risk his very high ranking with the WBC. So that's what that is. So I'm not sure how realistic the Jennings fight is. One fight that Dillian Whyte did say he was interested in is a fight with Dominic Breazeale. Again, that's a very good fight. Because you got two guys who are very, very tough. We both know, we know that both Dominic Breazeale and Dillian Whyte are tough, tough men. Both got massive hearts. Both love a fight. Both can get hit, hurt, and come back. In Breazeale's case, he's been down several times in his career and climbed up off the floor to win. He did it against Amir Mansour. He did it in his last fight against Izu Ogono. So I think that might be a barn burner of a fight, actually. Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale. Definitely something I'd like to see. Dillian Whyte has always been very vocal about his relationship with Eddie Hearn from the very beginning. In fact, I've seen many interviews where Eddie Hearn is just shaking his head and saying that Dillian Whyte is an absolute nightmare. He said that many times, actually, that Dillian Whyte's just a nightmare to deal with. And I wonder if Eddie Hearn regrets signing him. I wonder whether that's why Dillian Whyte hasn't got the fights that he wants to get, because he hassles Eddie Hearn so much and he's so difficult with Hearn that Hearn's like, you know what, just because you're hassling me, I'm actually not going to make that much effort for you. Maybe Dillian Whyte's not tactful enough with Eddie Hearn. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, he's been complaining about the way Hearn has been treating him, saying that Hearn needs to pull his finger out and get these fights made, or, maybe Dillian Whyte will move on and sign with a different promoter. I'm not really sure where he would go, but, that seems to be what he's kind of talking about at the moment. We'll see if it gets sorted out. But let me know what you think about a potential fight between Dillian Whyte and Bryant Jennings. How did you think Jennings reacted to the situation in terms of being confronted by Dillian Whyte? And also let me know what you think about a potential fight between Dillian Whyte and Dominic Breazeale. How would that fight go? Would you like to see it? I think Breazeale should be higher up in the rankings after his victory over Ogono. We'll probably have to wait until later on in the month or maybe next month before the rankings get updated. And then we'll see where Breazeale's at. He might get a high ranking in one of the other sanctioning bodies other than the WBC. And Dillian Whyte might decide to go that route instead. I think he did mention, Dillian Whyte, actually, in one of the interviews he's done over the past couple of days, that he'd like to fight Dominic Breazeale for the WBC silver belt. I know Dillian Whyte, I think, already holds some type of WBC belt. Maybe it's the silver belt he already holds. Maybe he wants to defend that against Dominic Breazeale. I don't know. But he didn't talk about fighting Kubrat Pulev, who's above him in the rankings. But it'd be good to hear him talk about Pulev. Pulev did mention that I believe Pulev mentioned that he could be fighting a British fighter. So is there maybe talks behind the scenes of Dillian Whyte versus Kubrat Pulev? Most people would pick Pulev in that fight, I'm sure. He is a good technical boxer with a good jab. So anyway, let me stop waffling here, people. Just let me know how you feel about all the points I've raised in this video. And yeah, It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.